Good morning. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Congressman Dr. Raul Ruiz, Chair of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus. The CHC is proud to host this press conference. We are 38 members strong with 4 senators and talented members in all ranks of leadership in Congress. We are at the cusp of voting for the Farm Workforce Modernization Act and the Dream and Promise Act, 2 bills that I know will make an incredible positive difference for our nation. I know that personally. You see, due to a terrible tragedy in my family, I was brought to the United States from Mexico as a baby. My parents were farm workers who worked tirelessly day in and day out with calloused hands and tired backs with minimal rests to give me and their children opportunities that they've never had. Farm workers, like my parents, and like many of my constituents back home in the Coachella Valley, taught me the values of hard work, resiliency, and taking care of one another. Why are these bills important right now? It is precisely now, during a pandemic, when we need to pass these bills. Dreamers are doctors, nurses, lab technicians, contact tracers, and job creators. Farm workers are getting infected and dying from COVID at a much higher rate than the general public. They are literally dying to feed you, give you the nutrients you need to heal from COVID. We must protect and secure our food supply chain. The Congressional Hispanic Caucus has led efforts to fix our broken immigration system, and I am very proud to say that the CHC has endorsed both of these bills that will strengthen our economy, stabilize our food supply chain, and give people peace of mind. I would like to thank Congressperson Lofgren, Congresswoman Clark, and CHC members, Congresswoman Roybal-Allard, Congressman Costa, and Congressman Carbajal for putting pen to paper and helping draft the bills. I would especially like to thank Speaker Pelosi and Leader Hoyer for their leadership and for building in extra time in the House schedule so that we could vote on these 2 bills today. And I call on Majority Leader Schumer and Senator Durbin to bring the Dream and Promise and Farm Workforce Modernization Acts for a vote in the Senate. La Ley de Sueños y Promesas y la Ley de Modernización de la Fuerza Laboral Agrícola es la reforma migratoria que necesitamos. Nuestro país es más fuerte cuando aceptamos a nuestras comunidades de inmigrantes. Los inmigrantes arriesgan sus vidas cada día como trabajadores de primera línea durante la pandemia. Ya es hora de que les proporcionemos un camino ganado hacia la ciudadanía. El caucus hispano del Congreso está muy orgulloso de apoyar ambos proyectos de ley. Home is here, estamos en casa, and now it is my great honor and pleasure to introduce you someone who has been a fierce champion for children, dreamers, and immigrants, who recognizes the strength and value of diversity, and who has gone above and beyond to create opportunities to ensure there is diversity in every corner of the House of Representatives, our wonderful Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. This is a very special day for us. In fact, weather permitting, we would have been on the steps of the Capitol to say to the world that we are making a very big difference in how we respect the beautiful diversity of America, how we respect the fact that immigration is the constant reinvigoration of America. We're allotted 1 minute, so I will be as brief as I can be. I want to just say that this is a day for many of our members have participated a long time, but for Lucille Roybal-Allard. In 2010, she authored this legislation, which passed on the floor, and it did so with the full, Mr. Chairman, full support of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus. The Hispanic Caucus made the difference in passing that legislation. You are doing so again now with the Tri-Caucus represented by, and from the AAPI community, Congresswoman Strickland, a freshman from Washington State, and Yvette Clarke, a long-term supporter of immigration issues from the Congressional Black Caucus, Congresswoman Clarke of New York. And when we go to the floor today, as I say, this is a big day for Lucille because of the DREAM Act, which he sponsored. But it's also now the DREAM and Promise Act. And the Promise part of the bill is, the TPS part of it is authored by Congresswoman Velasquez, Madam Chair of the Small Business Committee. When we passed the bill in 2010, the sponsor of the bill was Lucille and Howard Berman, and the chair of the caucus was Congresswoman Velasquez. She took the lead that Mr. Ruiz has today in persuading other members to vote for the bill. So thank you for making it possible then. Thank you for expanding it now to TPS and DD, et cetera. So this is, again, and for Lucille, the farm worker bill, the Farm Workforce Modernization Act that we've talked about here is in her DNA because her father was instrumental, Congressman Roy Ballard, Mr. Chairman, way back when in establishing the farm workers. So Stenny's not here, but Stenny and I served with him on the Appropriations Committee. We knew well his great work in the Congress, but also what he brought to the Congress in terms of such a history. And in this room 1 year ago, the last event that we had before COVID prevented further events, we celebrated the 90th birthday of Dolores Huerta. So there's so much coming together for us here. Let me just close by quoting Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan said, "If we ever close the door to new Americans, our leadership in the world would be lost." It has always been a pleasure for me to sing the praises of our dreamers. They make us so proud. They have in so many ways, as the distinguished chair has indicated. So for us, this is a day of not only passing legislation, but a cause for celebration. With that, I'm very pleased to yield to the person, as I say, this is her day for many reasons, Madam Chair, the chair of the Homeland Security Subcommittee of Appropriations, where she has fought this fight for a long time, Congresswoman Roy Ballard. Madam Chair.
Good morning, everyone. I thank Speaker Pelosi for making the DREAM and Promise Act one of the top 10 Democratic priorities for this Congress. I also thank my co-authors, Congresswoman Nydia Velasquez and Yvette Clarke, as well as Zoe Lofgren, for her invaluable guidance and leadership as chair of the Judiciary Subcommittee on Immigration. After 20 years of fighting to protect dreamers, and as co-author of the original DREAM Act, I am truly thrilled that today the House will take a major step in ending the veil of fear and uncertainty that has plagued the lives of our dreamers for far too long. As our nation has battled the COVID-19 pandemic, 202,500 DACA recipients have risked their lives as essential workers. They have packaged and stocked our food, taught our children, and worked, as Chair Ruiz said, as doctors, nurses, and caregivers to protect our health and safety. While each dreamer has a unique story, they all exemplify American values and a deep love for the only nation they call home. I thank my colleagues for their support and for being here today. Y para nuestros soñadores, los apoyamos y estamos con ustedes en esta lucha. Gracias por sus contribuciones a nuestro país. Su hogar es aquí. I now yield to Representative Zoe Lofgren.
Thanks so much. This is, in fact, a great day. You know, one of the things that we have been fortunate for during this horrible pandemic is that our food supply was never disrupted. We could always go to the supermarket and find food. Now, that's thanks to the farmers of America, but also the farm workers of America, most of whom are undocumented, and most of whom have been here more than 10 years. They live in a period of uncertainty, and we decided we should do something about it. Who is we? The United Farm Workers Union and the growers talked to each other for over a year to try and see if we could come up with a path forward. Republicans that I want to call out specifically, Congressman Dan Newhouse and Mike Simpson, as well as many others, and myself and Jimmy Panetta and Jimmy Costa and Salute Garble and many others, worked together to come up with a compromise that will allow farm workers to gain legal status and also to regularize the existing H-2A program so that farm workers in the future can come over in a legal and orderly manner. This bill is a compromise. It's a bipartisan compromise. It's a compromise between farmers and farm workers. It's something I hope that will pass with bipartisan support, and if it does, America will be stronger than it is today. I yield now to a wonderful person who's worked so hard on the TPS matter, and that is Chairwoman Nydia Velasquez.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Chair Lofgren, and I want to thank Chairman Ruiz, Speaker Pelosi, Leader Hoyer, and all the other amazing advocates for humane immigration reform. And let me just remind everyone, immigration and immigrants make America, America. And to all the activists, the grassroots organization who stood up and stood firm to demand a more just immigration system, this bill are made possible by you. As a co-author of the Dream and Promise Act, along with Representative Raul Allard and Yvette Clarke, I am proud that this bill will shield qualifying recipients of TPS, DED, and DACA from deportation and create a more comprehensive pathway to citizenship. These are our co-workers, friends, families, and hardworking, law-abiding members of our communities. This bill is the morally right thing to do, is the fiscally responsible move, and most of all, it is the American way forward. Thank you, and this is 1 minute.
Jerry Nadler.
Chairman, he's had 4 bills in 2 days.
Well, thank you very much. I want to thank Chairman Ruiz for bringing us together today, Lucille Roybal-Allard and Zoe Lofgren, and all the others assembled here for sponsoring the 2 bills we are considering this afternoon, and of course, our distinguished leaders, Speaker Pelosi and Majority Leader Hoyer, for bringing these important bills to the floor. After closing the book on 4 years of disastrous, cruel, and inhumane immigration policies, today we begin a new chapter. It is one based on compassion, on reason, and on the fundamental values we hold dear as Americans. All of the individuals who would gain protection under the bills we're considering today, Dreamers, TPS and DED recipients, and farm workers, are vital members of our communities. And as Zoe said, without the immigrant farm workers, the undocumented immigrant farm workers, we couldn't grow our crops and feed our people. They are our neighbors, our friends, our classmates, our service members, and our essential workers. They are driving forces in our economy and in our culture. The 2 bills we will pass today recognize that America is stronger when we welcome people to our shores. Later this afternoon, the House will send a clear message that we believe in a just, rational, and humane immigration system. I hope that our Senate colleagues will hear us on the other side of the Capitol and will take similar action. I'm proud to stand with my colleagues here today, and I look forward to sending both of these important bills to the President's desk. And I think I kept it under a minute.
Let me thank Chairman Ruiz, Speaker Pelosi, my colleagues, Congresswoman Lucille Roybal-Allard, Congresswoman Nydia Velasquez, of course, Chairwoman Loughran and Chairman Jerry Nadler, and all of my colleagues in the CHC. I'm Congresswoman Yvette D. Clarke. I proudly represent New York's 9th Congressional District, Central and South Brooklyn. As the daughter of Jamaican immigrants, I understand the need for the Dream and Promise Act, and a 21st century immigration system worthy of our great nation. Let me be clear, our current immigration system is broken. And to coin a phrase of another very distinguished Jamaican American, the notorious B.I.G., if you don't know, now you know. Imagine being brought to the United States of America. You're on a road trip with the family. You're a child, you're observing your surroundings. You come to a new place, you settle, you grow up with other children, you dream, you aspire, you reach your goals, you're educated, you're engaged, only to find out you're undocumented, only to find out that the work that you have done to help build this country has not been given the same value as if you were born in this nation. Today, we are saying, let us continue to build on the American dream. Let us pass the Dream and Promise Act. We have an obligation to bring forth the type of support undergirding that needs to happen for those who have been a lifeline to so many families across this nation, not only during this pandemic, before it, and will continue to do so as proud Americans as we pass the Dream and Promise Act. With that, I think it was a minute, I yield back.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Representative Clarke, Chairman Ruiz, and Speaker Pelosi for this opportunity to speak in support of the American Dream and Promise Act. I am proudly a member of both the Congressional Black Caucus and the Congressional Asia Pacific Islander Caucus here in the U.S. Congress. For the 1.5 million Asian Dreamers and 2.1 million African immigrants, the American Dream and Promise Act isn't just any piece of legislation. It is a pathway to citizenship that will determine their future in this country, in this place that they call home, in this place for millions of people who have known no other home but the United States. And I want to talk a bit about the recipients who are going to come from Korea and from the continent of Africa. Koreans were one of the first groups to sign up for DACA when it was announced by President Obama. And immigrants from Africa, from Nigeria, Ethiopia, Ghana, and Cameroon, to name a few, are now among the fastest growing groups of immigrants across the United States. Creating a viable pathway to citizenship and acceptance is something that all undocumented immigrants grapple with. I want to thank the Congressional Hispanic Caucus for leading the way on this issue, and I want to encourage everyone to support these bills. And I say this because we talk about bipartisanship here in Congress, but these bills are wildly popular with the American public. America wants these things to happen. We've been talking about this for too long, and now is the time to act. It's the morally right thing to do, it's the courageous thing to do, and it's good for the economy, and it epitomizes what it means to be American. I now yield to Representative Costa. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and Chairman Ruiz, Chairwoman Roybal-Allard, and Chairwoman Zoe Lofgren for your leadership and your efforts in bringing us together to this important day. And it is an important day. It's a good day for reform in our immigration system in this country. As was noted, we have a broken immigration system, and it's been that way for decades. And it's time we get about the work of fixing it. The legislation that we will vote on today will cover almost half, or maybe as much as half, of the undocumented people that we have in our country today and give them legal status. Let me start where I think I come from. Food is a national security issue. It's not often looked at that way. We take it for granted. But certainly in the last 12 months with this pandemic, with the closure of schools and restaurants, and our complicated, complex food supply chain turned upside down, I think more Americans are beginning to understand how critical it is for the 5% of the population, the nation's population, that puts food on America's dinner table every night. I know, because I'm a third-generation farmer. It's a partnership. It always has been a partnership between farm workers, farmers, dairymen and women, and it's that partnership that has been part of the great success of America, that allows us not only to feed all of our people, but to also produce enough food for other parts of the world where they are in need. Let me tell you something. The coalition that came together was a result of the hard work of a lot of folks here. The United Farm Workers, who many of us have worked with for years, the grower organizations, and much of organized labor, understanding that farm workers, the campesinos, who make up such a wonderful part of our country, in the San Joaquin Valley that I represent, are some of the hardest working individuals I have ever met. Yes, I know these campesinos. From the time I was a young man on my family's farm till an adult, I worked side by side with them. I know what hard work is all about. And they are trying to do their best to raise their families and to have a better opportunity and a brighter future for themselves and for our country. Yet, it is simply wrong for them to live and work under the shadow of uncertainty and fear of being deported. That's what it is. It's that fear that they live with from day to day. Maria, who I spoke with a few months ago, lived in Parler. She picks and works in an orange packing shed, has risen in the ranks there. But she left a few months ago from this good-paying job. She had purchased a home, she had her family, because some of her family was documented, some was not, and therefore the word was out that the Immigration Service was looking at deporting and making a raid at this packing shed. That's real, that's fear. So let me close by saying that when we talk about some of the hardest working men and women and their young children who put food on America's dinner table every night, today we are going to give them hope. The hope that they have, that I see in their eyes when I go to my district every week. A hope for a normal life free from the dread of family separation and deportation that hangs over their head every day when they leave to go to work. Hope for a chance to change their reality and reshape their story and live the American dream. For ladies and gentlemen, our nation is a land of immigrants past and immigrants present. I know, I'm a second-generation immigrant. My grandparents came to this country illiterate, non-English speaking, as farm workers. They milked cows. I have some skill sets that I still have. But the fact is today we can make a difference. And I want to thank so much Zoe and Lucille and Doctor and Madam Speaker for your good work. And let me introduce one of my partners. As was said, Salud Carbajal has his story, and he and I represent some of the largest agricultural regions in California, therefore in the country. Jimmy Panetta and so many others have worked so hard in this effort, along with Dan Newhouse. Congressman Salud Carbajal from the great Central Coast.
Thank you, Representative Costa. Let me start by thanking a few people that really have brought us here. First, I want to thank Dr. Ruiz for organizing today's event. But the two authors of these two important bills worked extremely hard to get us here, and I want to recognize Representative Lofgren and Representative Roybal Allard for getting us here. And let's face it, nothing happens here without leadership, not only from the individuals I mentioned, but from our extraordinary speaker, Nancy Pelosi. I want to thank them for getting us here. Thank you very much. I'm a son of a farm worker. Many of summers I toiled in the fields with my father. I know firsthand the hard work of farm workers. I also happen to represent a district where the #1 industry is agriculture. So making sure that our farm workers are taken care of and that our farmers have the tools and the assistance they need to prosper is of the utmost importance to me. This is personal to me. Many of these immigrants, be it dreamers or farm workers, come to this country to live the American dream. Come to ensure that Their kids have a better way of life. Some of them even become members of Congress. So today is a good day for America. These bills are bipartisan. We have bipartisan members of Congress that have come together, and a diverse group of stakeholders, especially the Farm Workforce Modernization Act. This is a bill that is historic when you consider all of the groups that came together to make it happen. Today's an important day to not just take all that our country and our economy has been taking from immigrants, their essential work, to keep America working, but recognizing them and giving them back that benefit to live that American dream in this country that they came here for. Thank you very much.
I want to close by giving my sincere appreciation, adoration, and respect to Chair Zoe Lofgren and to Chair Lucille Roybal-Allard and to Speaker Pelosi and all the members who spoke today, members representing both KPAC and CBC. You see that the diversity not only that are up here, but all those that are affected by this broken immigration system, and together we can get it fixed. Thank you very much, and that concludes our press conference.
Y'all got anything else today?
Not too sure. I'll get an email if there's anything. I don't want to break nothing down and they come back and say we got something else.
Yeah, exactly.
We got guys around the clock. So I'll give you about the next half an hour, see what they're saying.
Good deal. Yeah, I feel like this room has a lot more setup than some of the other spots.
Well, yeah, definitely. This is the main room for years.
Yeah.
This is the one they normally have.
It looks the best though.
Yeah, and then